Treehouses aren't just for kids. These days, treehouses have become more sophisticated and luxurious, offering a unique and unforgettable vacation experience for adults and families alike. From elaborate multi-level structures to cozy retreats nestled in the treetops, treehouses come in all sorts of different forms. So in today's video, I'm going to be counting down 15 of the most epic treehouses in the world. Let's begin. Number 15. Gajamaru Treehouse Diner. Alright, most restaurants are located on solid ground, but in Okinawa, Japan, you could have a delicious meal while perched on a giant banyan tree. Now, to be clear, this 6-meter-high, hyper-realistic-looking tree was in fact man-made. However, the experience it offered diners was second to none. In order to access this restaurant, customers would traverse its location in the middle of a busy city grid to find a small spiral staircase. Once atop the perched restaurant, diners would be treated to reasonably priced organic Indian, Italian, and Japanese dishes made using locally produced ingredients. All the while, they could enjoy the beautiful views of the gentle waters of Naha Harbor, with the tree's branches reminding the diners of nature that used to be there. In any case, despite being a fantastic dining experience, Gajamaru Treehouse Diner closed down in 2015. Since then, the entire structure's been torn down, putting an end to this incredible building. Number 14. Tetsu Treehouse. Alright, staying in Japan, if you travel over to Hokuto, Japan, you can visit a fairy tale-like treehouse that's like no other. Perched atop a single cypress trunk and surrounded by a sea of cherry blossom trees, there are few treehouses quite as beautiful. Built by architect Terunobu Fujimori, it's meant to serve as a tea house, and it's here drinkers can fully enjoy the cherry blossom trees when in full bloom. Despite not looking like the sturdiest structure in the world, Fujimori designed the structure to be secure, yet flexible enough to sway with the tree during storming weather and through earthquakes, and so far this design has managed to do that. Beyond the exterior, the interior is also quite beautiful, as it's simple yet modern, making a comfortable place to relax and sip tea. So, do you agree that the Tetsu Treehouse's unique but stunning design and location makes it a top-tier tea house and treehouse? Number 13. Steampunk Treehouse. Calling the Steampunk Treehouse unique is an understatement. While located in Milton, Delaware, it began life as an art project for Burning Man. Resting on a 12-meter-tall artificial tree made of welded girders and plates, the house itself is a small wood and steel room. Featuring clockwork components and windows that open via contracting mechanisms, the whole thing looks more like a home of a futuristic Victorian-era artist. Now, by all accounts, it was quite popular at Burning Man, and it went on to make appearances at similar small-budget festivals and, against all odds, Coachella. However, after this road tour, it was in danger of being thrown into storage forever. That is, until its owners got in contact with Dogfish Head Brewery in Milton, Delaware. The brewery owners loved the steampunk vibe and so agreed to purchase it and add it to their brewery tour, breathing new life into what was going to be an otherwise forgotten structure. Number 12. The Canopy Treehouse. Airbnb is full of super cool properties, although one of the most interesting by far is Canopy Treehouse. Located in the state of Maine, it comes in at just 350 square feet, yet despite its exceptionally small size, it comes filled with amenities. The treehouse itself is fit with a loft that contains a queen bed and a lower level that has a fully stocked kitchen and dining room. If you'd like to have multiple guests, there's an attached sleeping pod with another queen bed, while a hot tub and a nearby lake allow you to swim, kayak, and relax. Best of all, the entire setup is completely carbon neutral, as the home is not only built with many recycled materials, but it's now powered by a 150-panel solar array that's so effective it even offsets the rides people must take from the nearby Boston or Portland to get there. So yeah, the Canopy Treehouse, it's a great example of an eco-luxury experience. Number 11. Castle Treehouse. If you're looking for a treehouse that looks like it came straight out of a fairy tale, then look no further than Castle Treehouse. Located about 30 kilometers east of Revelstoke, British Columbia, it's considered by many to be the world's tallest treehouse. It's placed smack dab in the middle of an 800-year-old cedar grove. It's an astounding 50 feet tall and encompasses a total of 3 stories. Fit with winding staircases and whimsical architectural flair, it truly feels magical here. However, it's part of a larger attraction known as the Enchanted Forest. First conceived in the 1950s by a couple of artists who wanted to display their hand-molded fairy tale figurines, the theme park of sorts was opened in 1960 and became so popular that by 1970, a total of 1 million people had visited it. And while the Enchanted Forest and Castle Treehouse are no longer in the hands of the original owners, I still think a visit here next time you're on Canada's East Coast is worth the effort. Number 10. The Nine Ladies Treehouse Camp. While the Nine Ladies Treehouse Camp may not be the most glamorous encampment around, it's a testament to the power of protest. You see, in 2001, a company by the name of Stancliffe Stone attempted to acquire an area of Peak District National Park in England to be used as a quarry. However, there was one major problem. The area they were to destroy was located in an environmentally sensitive area that was very close to the ancient Nine Ladies Stone Circle, which is a historic site that dates back to the Bronze Age. As a result, in order to stop Stancliffe, protesters created a treehouse camp in the area. While not all that glamorous after all, it had no running water, electricity, or creature comforts to speak of. It eventually did pay off though. That's because after occupying the area for 9 years, it was announced in 2010 that the government would revoke Stancliffe Stone's planning permission in exchange for the right to quarry at Dale View, which is an area which is less environmentally sensitive. So while the treehouses were uncomfortable places to live in, they were certainly a force for good. Number 9. Weaver Ants. The animal kingdom is full of incredible builders, although none are quite as proficient at their trade as the weaver ant. Found throughout Central Africa and Southeast Asia, the way they create their treetop nests is an incredible feat of social cohesion. The process begins when one singular ant begins to pull on a leaf. This attracts other ants to follow suit, and many will gather until the leaf is successfully pulled in place. If the leaves are too far apart for the ants to reach, they create bridges and crawl on top of each other to connect them. Once all is connected, some ants will hold down the leaves while others bring over partially grown larvae. These larvae are waved around until they release silk threads from their glands, and it's this white silk that binds everything together. The end result is a massive cylinder-like nest that's up to 60 centimeters in length and water-resistant too. Despite being so large, these nests generally take less than 24 hours to make, and because they use live leaves rather than dead ones, these nests generally tend to remain durable and not dry out. So yeah, weaver ants, they are some of the most skilled and ingenious treehouse builders out there. Number 8. Pitchford Hall. Alright, generally speaking, treehouses don't really last for all that long. After all, unless they're constantly looked after, they'll eventually fall into a state of disrepair. And that's not to mention the fact that the tree they rest in can rot away, burn down, or otherwise get destroyed. However, Pitchford Hall's treehouse survived against all odds. A historic home of the Earls of Liverpool, Tudor Hall is the quintessential English Tudor estate, although what makes it stand out is not its manicured grounds or beautiful architecture, but its old treehouse. First mentioned in documents in 1692, it sits in an old lime tree and was built in a way that's visually similar to Pitchford Hall. By all accounts, it's beautifully constructed as thanks to renovations over the years, its carved molding cornice, ceiling, stripped oak floor, and Gothic windows on all sides are still there. If that wasn't cool enough, it was even visited by royalty. After all, Queen Victoria mentioned in her diary that she stood in the treehouse while she watched a pack of foxhounds during her visit to Pitchford Hall as a young princess. So there's no doubt that Pitchford Hall's treehouse is historically significant. And while now it has to be held up by metal supports and wires rather than just the tree itself so it doesn't collapse, it's nevertheless an absolutely beautiful structure. Number 7. Treehouse Safari. While sleeping in a treehouse is cool enough, sleeping in one that sits over a game reserve in the African savannah is even more spectacular. And at Sabi Sands and Lion Sands game reserves near Kruger National Park, South Africa, staying in a 5-star rendition of a wilderness treehouse is entirely possible. Home to a total of 3 top-tier treehouses, the features of each are to die for. And while all 3 are firmly constructed rooms with unimpeded views of the bush and free coffee every morning, they all have their own selling points. The Chalkley Treehouse and Tignoleti Treehouse are simple yet incredible, as they each have a large bed with a mosquito net, places to sit, and a large amount of deck space that allows you to pivot to see different areas of the savannah. However, if you're going for an even more luxurious experience, Kingston Treehouse is your best bet. Accessed by traversing rows of imposing white boulders and walking across a small drawbridge, this treehouse is equipped with a full bathroom and shower facilities in order to make your stay more comfortable. This is not to mention its mix of Africology products that add to the space and complete the sensory experience. Yet the reality is that no matter what treehouse you stay in, you're bound to have a great time. And at just $230 a night, they're a great deal considering what you're getting in return. Number 6. Bow Houses. While Rob Hurd's bow houses are far too small to fit a human, their insane detail and cool designs earns them a spot on this list. You see, Rob used to work as both a sheet metal worker and a lumberjack, but eventually decided to pivot to building timber playgrounds for children. Whenever he made one of these playgrounds, he would first always start with a small mock-up, and he noticed that his clients' kids would always take them to use as toys. When Rob sustained a wrist injury while lumberjacking, he had to take 6 months off from work, and it was during this time that he began to build these small wooden mock-ups once more. He eventually saw the business potential in this and has since begun to do it now full-time. While smaller than normal tree houses, bow houses are still quite expansive, often taking months to complete. They can be up to 6 feet tall. However, to make one, the process starts by first finding a single piece of wood to inspire his work. Once he has a sketch, he then begins to organically build up, changing things along the way so the house comes out perfectly. While some pieces of the tree houses are hand-chiseled into the wood, others are placed using pins and glue. And in order to make it all flow, Rob kills dead ends by ensuring every tower and turret is connected with aerial walkways and staircases. So, the finished products, they're always absolutely beautiful. And I think you agree, Rob Hurd is quite talented. Number 5. La Shen Chapel. Most tree houses are made by building a structure on top of a tree. Duh. However, La Shen Chapel was constructed by building a room inside of one. Located in the small town of Allouville-Bellefosse in northern France, the Shen Chapel is considered to be the country's oldest tree. Reportedly visited by Charlemagne and William the Conqueror, it was rather significant to the town for centuries, although its trajectory changed forever after it was struck by lightning in the 1600s. The lightning strike went right through the middle of the tree, and despite creating a large cavity, the treehouse somehow still stood. In response, local abbot Du Destois and the village priest Father Du Cerceau claimed the lightning strike had holy origins, and thus a pilgrimage site and chapel dedicated to the Virgin Mary was soon built there. The end result was a structure that has a winding staircase and 2 chapels, giving its nickname of La Shen Chapel, which literally translates to the Chapel Oak in English. However, despite the tree's incredible past, it's seen its fair share of trials and tribulations. Most notably, it was nearly destroyed during the French Revolution, when a mob wanted to burn it down due to it being associated with the church. However, a local renamed the tree to Temple of Reason, thus saving it from this fiery fate. As a result of this and other restoration efforts, such as the implementation of poles and wooden shingles to hold up the stairs and chapel, the tree can still be visited to this day, making it a cool trip for anyone located in northern France. Number 4. The Tree Fort. The U.S. Army is far ahead of the rest of the world. In order to get where they are today, they had to be creative and clever, and it's this mix that caused them to test out a prototype tree fort that could have acted as a jungle base for American troops. Now, the reason for the creation of this fort stems in the heavy use of helicopters during the Vietnam War. That's because despite being rather compact, helicopters still need large, clear areas in order to land, and this was a problem in the dense jungles of Vietnam. In response, the U.S. dreamt up an interesting idea, creating a tree fort that would sit on top of the jungle's trees so that helicopters could land and soldiers could get in and out. First tested out in 1965 via a prototype, it featured 2 stainless steel wire nets and a hexagonal platform made out of aluminum tubes covered with a nylon mesh. This would be set up with the help of, ironically enough, helicopters, and there was even hope that one day these platforms could simply be dropped onto the jungle by airplanes, so any injured troops could be shuttled away by waiting helicopters. And while the platform was supposed to be able to support more than 4,500 kilograms of weight in the form of helicopters, radios, fuel tanks, and even a mortar, the whole thing proved to be very impractical. After all, because of the lack of guardrails and the lack of a secure hold on the trees, the tree forts proved to be susceptible to partial breakdowns. And even when they did work, very few soldiers actually felt inclined to use them. And while a whole host of improvements made them far more reliable, by 1969 the project was effectively dead. That's because rather than use tree forts, the Pentagon opted to simply drop bombs to flatten trees and destroy parts of the jungle, thus allowing helicopters to land with ease. And while this solution was certainly effective, it was far less cool than the abandoned tree forts. Number 3. The Tree Hotel. When it comes to tree houses, few are as luxurious or as beautifully designed as the properties owned by Tree Hotel. Located in a remote area of northeastern Sweden, the Tree Hotel was made with the help of 7 Swedish architects that banded together to create a hotel truly like no other. And while there are several super cool tree houses on their property, 3 in particular stand out. Arguably, the most fascinating of them all is the Bird's Nest. Made in a bid to blend a treehouse seamlessly into its surroundings, its exterior looks exactly like a massive bird's nest. However, the inside is anything but. Entered via a ladder, the interior is completely closed off to the outside world save for a few small windows. While compact, it's nonetheless remarkably light, and the 180 square foot space has one queen bed, one bunk bed, and an electric fireplace. If you want something that has a few more features, you may want to go with the Mirror Cube, a 4x4x4 meter cube with mirrors all around it. From the outside, it gives the illusion of having glass from floor to ceiling. However, once inside, you're treated to a beautiful plywood interior fit with a bedroom and living space that's simple yet elegant. However, if you want to have all the bells and whistles, you'll have to book the 7th room. Encompassing over 800 square feet of living space, it's fitted with 5 beds, 2 bedrooms, a living room, and a bathroom with an eco-friendly shower. This main living room has panoramic views facing the river valley and the northern lights, while the bedrooms have skylight windows that allow you to gaze up at the night sky. Beyond the interior, the exterior is also stunning, as it has burnished wood finishes, an underside with a life-size photo of the pine tree tops, and a staircase with various vantage points. While all 7 of the Tree Hotel's rooms are pretty cool, they'll certainly cost you. That's because at prices of between $450 and $1,200 per night, these tree houses are only truly affordable for those with some deep pockets. Number 2. The Free Spirit Spheres. When you think of a treehouse, a wooden, house-like building is probably what comes to your mind. However, Free Spirit Spheres takes this classic design and completely turns it on its head. It's located on Vancouver Island near the city of Vancouver in Canada. They function as both comfortable living spaces and works of art. Designed in relation to the philosophies of biomimicry, these spheres try to reflect the nature around them, and despite being so modern, they more or less manage to do so. After all, the spherical shape of the balls is modeled after that of a tree nut, with the foundational idea being that the design is very durable against external pressures. In order to keep the sphere in place, it's tethered to the strong points of 3 separate trees using 3 nearly vertical ropes. This is important because it helps distribute the load of the spheres evenly, resulting in a stable hang that doesn't sway from side to side. Now, the Free Spirit Spheres are not private residences, rather they're rented out as hotel rooms, and those interested have 3 options to choose from: Melody, Erin, and Luna. Melody is the OG sphere, crafted with a yellow fiberglass exterior and a black walnut interior, measures 3.2 meters in diameter, and sports 5 windows, a small sink, a Murphy bed, a kettle, a thermostat, and a set of speakers. The Erin is the second of the 2 and is quite similar to the Melody. However, its interior is made of Sitka pine rather than black walnut, and it's a bit more accommodating because it can sleep a 3rd person and has a fridge. However, it's the Luna that's the newest and most luxurious of the 3, as it has the best design elements and features from her predecessors. Best of all 3 spheres have running water, Wi-Fi, and power, making them comfortable despite not being anything like your typical house. So it should come as little surprise that many people want to spend a night in these spheres, especially since they're all reportedly the only spherical treehouses on the planet. However, at a price of between $250 and $300 a night, you'll have to pay a pretty penny in order to stay here. Number 1. Horace Burgess's Treehouse. Alright, by most accounts, Horace Burgess is an interesting character. Hailing from Crossville, Tennessee, in 1993 he supposedly had a vision from God that changed his life. In this vision, God told him that, quote, "If you build a treehouse, I'll see that you never run out of material," end quote. This inspired him to get to work, and from 1993 until 2005, it was his mission to finish the treehouse. The actual process was pretty incredible. After all, he claimed that nearly every plank of barn wood, oak, and pine that he secured required divine guidance, and that oftentimes he, quote, "had to stand there and let the Spirit of God show me what piece to put up," end quote. While seemingly pretty wacky, it's hard to argue that the end result wasn't incredible. Coming in at 30 meters in height and supported by a still-living 24-meter-tall white oak tree, it was absolutely massive, so much so that it required the support of 6 other oak trees in order to stay standing. In fact, its 4 stories, 6 rooms, and 2,300 square feet made it a popular tourist attraction, and over the years, Horace Burgess would use its chapel to conduct a total of 23 weddings. Yet while its stint as an active treehouse was incredible, after 7 years of operation, it got shut down by state authorities. You see, in 2012, state fire marshals closed it to the public because it exceeded height restrictions, didn't have a fire alarm or sprinkler system, and wasn't built by a registered design professional. In other words, it was a high-altitude tinderbox just waiting to get set ablaze. Upon receiving this news, Horace Burgess sold the treehouse to a new owner. This new owner more or less sat on their hands by doing absolutely nothing with it, causing it to become dilapidated and be subjected to a whole lot of vandalism. While this was by all accounts quite sad, things went from bad to worse in 2019. That's because on October 22nd of that year, the treehouse was set ablaze under mysterious circumstances and burnt to the ground in just 15 minutes. While unfortunate, Horace Burgess was reportedly relieved, as by this point he had more or less gotten tired of being associated with it. Most mysterious of all, since it was uninsured, the property's owners didn't even bother conducting an investigation. So as such, we'll never know who for sure was behind this massive inferno. I'll see you next time. Watch our binge-watching playlist if you'd like to watch all of our most popular top 15 videos. Grab a drink, grab a snack, and get ready to binge.